Hello, welcome to the Real Internet Come Forth YouTube channel. My name is Antonette Smith and I am your author. Remember that we are in volume 4 of the Real Internet Come Forth book series titled The Addict, Drug and Sex Addiction, and we will be in this volume for the entire month of February. Remember to get your books so you can read ahead of me. You can read with me and it will produce questions for you. Remember that each book comes with a loyalty card. The Real Internet Come Forth is 4 separate books, 9 volumes. If you buy the first 3 books, I will give you your 4th book free. The Behind the Scene book series is 5 separate books. If you buy the first 4 books, I will give you the 5th book free. Each book comes with its own bookmark, and to remember that they come in paperback and digital. Whether you get the paperback or the digital, I want you to have the bookmark. I want you to have the loyalty cards. Send me proof that you have them, and I will ship them to you. And then once you buy the 3 books or the 4 books, I will send you an autograph free copy. Okay? So we're going to do a reading first, and then I'm going to answer some more of the long list of questions that I have. I answered some of them in the previous video. So each video I will do a reading and questions. So let's get started. We're going to read chapter 6 from chapter 6, and it is titled Addiction Increases. This is July of 1995. Okay, it said, we've just arrived in Chicago, Illinois at the Greyhound bus station. Of course, the children's father have to get some heroin. He hasn't had any in over a month, and he hasn't had a habit in 3 months. So he has been doing good in that area. So I say to him, I need to buy an ounce of crack cocaine to sell to get me a car. I still had plenty of money because I was selling in Minneapolis as well. But not as much as I did in Illinois. So we go get the drugs, and his brother brings us home. I go to my mother's house, and he goes to his father's house to visit him and his siblings. The next day, I go to get the keys from my cousin. I already called ahead for my lights to be turned on. Now I have to get a propane gas tank put in the yard. I still have an account with the gas company. I was only gone 10 months. I go clean the house up with my mother and children. We go put the stuff in there and leave. We go looking for beds first because it's important. I call to see if some of my old drug clients I call and go see some of my old drug clients to tell them that I'm back and still in business to get the money flowing in. So of course they spread the word that I've got the good stuff and it's flying like hotcakes. I make $2,500 in a couple of days that I'm getting back home. I furnished a house and look for a car. Someone has a white Malibu for sale. It's clean. I like that car, so I purchase it. Of course, my children's father wants it, and it's a man's car. I don't agree. Take the car. Just leave me be. I get him rims and a sound system put in the car because I still love him and I'm staying with him. I'm really on a guilt trip from all the wrong that I've done. But I'm showing him that I really do love and care. It's summertime and we take the children to the lakefront, our favorite place, to the museum, to Chuck E. Cheese. We didn't do any of that in Minneapolis because it was so cold. And then we left. Let me see. So we go shopping like old time and life is good for the most part. I still smoke weed at night, but I'm not drinking as much because it always leaves me with a hangover and I don't like that. And so it's hot and it's too hot here for that. My mother and sisters take me to a bar and order me a shot of Martell. I drink it and everyone is shocked. Like what in the world is going on? See, it might be normal that a 19-year-old girl is drinking, but not me, Antonette, Miss Responsible, who takes care of everybody in their homes. It doesn't matter if they were an alcoholic, drug addict, sick, blind, crippled, or crazy, baby, child, middle age, or, oh, I'm going to try to help you. Now that I'm being one of the people that I try to help, That proposed a huge problem for many. Who's going to catch their falls now? It doesn't matter that I had children young anymore. It doesn't matter that I sold drugs for a living anymore. All that mattered was I was available for everyone when they needed me. That was the problem for me too, because I spent many years helping people because I was trying to save myself by helping them until I dug a deeper ditch for myself. Everyone around me was always happy, but I was dying inside from hurt, pain, shame that I felt because I was living a double life. I lived and acted a way that was pleasing to my parents, to my children's father, but no one ever asked me how I felt about anything, and I didn't challenge any of them. I found the perfect escape, I thought. But little did I know I would never be the same Antonette once I opened that door to drinking and drugs. My addiction increased rapidly. In 4 months' time, the nights my children's father came home high on heroin, I said to him, roll me a joint, because I still didn't know how to roll weed. I know it's been 4 months, but it's his job to roll it for me. That was part of our agreement. He does, he does, and he says to me, give me a dime bag of crack cocaine. Now, he had smoked crack before, no problem, whether it was joints or out of the can for a pipe. So I go get him one, and I sipped on some Martell. He was telling me about his day. We were actually getting along great since he was caught cheating. Now he's not as hostile toward me. Maybe he does love me for real, but I was just caught up, or maybe he does love me for real, but I was just caught up in my own self and affairs that I didn't notice. So he's rolling my joint first, lights it, and gives it to me, and then he says, you can smoke on that. I'm rolling me a Primo. That's a marijuana joint laced with crack cocaine for those of you that's not familiar with drug terms. So we're talking and laughing, and he says, you want to try this? I said, no, I don't believe so. He said, it only makes you horny. Now, that was music to my ears. But understand, I didn't know anything about what to expect from drugs or drinking. So he would always tell me how it was supposed to make me feel. And I had to feel after I had used each drug. I said, okay. He says, your mouth is going to get numb and you will get horny very quick. I said, okay. And I began to smoke. And I'm going to leave it right there so you can get the book and you can finish the story. So so I wanted to read that because in the last video I told you that I went from taking a shot at night and smoking a couple of pulls off a joint to help as a sleep aid, and it helped me to try to deal with pain or whatever. But my drug habit increased rapidly, and that's what this chapter is about. It increased rapidly, and so you have to remember, because I went from smoking weed to smoking a Primo marijuana joint laced with cocaine. So get the book so you can finish reading what happened. So we're on question number 4. And it says, what did your addiction destroy that can never be fixed or replaced? My drug addiction destroyed lives. My relationship with my father can never be fixed or replaced because he's dead. He's dead. So there's no fixing it. There's no replacing that. My relationship with my lover that's dead, it can never be fixed. It can never be repaired. His mother never get her child back. There's no fixing it. There's no replacing it. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Is there anything you miss about being an addict? No, I don't miss anything about being an addict. I don't miss anything about anything about being an addict. When I began to really search myself, and I still do. on a daily basis. Watch and see, am I addicted to something? Because anything you got to have is an addiction. And then if you've coming out of a sexual addiction or a drug addiction, you have to be more mindful and more conscious of your day-to-day walk, your day-to-day life, to make sure that you're not being addicted to something. That addiction is something that you just got to have. Anything you just got to have every day, it's an addiction, to the extreme. You understand what I'm saying? So even when I let go the drugs, even though when I let go the sexual addiction, I began to be addicted to buying a lot of items for my house. I still began to buy a lot of clothes still. So it's different forms of addiction. Addiction is not just bad. When people say addiction, they think automatically drugs, alcohol, sex, and all like that. No, you could be addicted to food. You could be addicted to shopping. You could be addicted to anything. Anything can become an addiction. Too much of anything. But my addiction was more. My addiction was really called more. It wasn't that I was really addicted. I was addicted to sex. I was addicted to drugs. And then I became addicted to shopping and all these different type of things. So I just tied to my addiction was more of anything. The more I can have of something, it was never enough. So my addiction was called more. So I don't miss anything about my addiction. I try to live everything minimal. I don't keep a lot of excess stuff. I just don't do it. I just don't do it because, like I said, it becomes addiction. And so I don't want to be addicted to anything, I don't want to be addicted to anything but Christ. And so that's how I try to aim my life. That's how I try to live on a daily basis. And so I try to live very minimal, I used to have 10 to 15 comforter sets because every week I like to change my bed and fluff my pillows and see something different. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when it become excess, you know how many hundreds of dollars that was buying all them comforter sheet sets? And then I would do my children beds like that, And so it's just, no. So now I have 2 bed sets. Period. That's it. So I'm very careful. So I don't miss anything about being an addict. I fight every day not to be an addict in no kind of way. Okay? So I don't miss anything about it. And still fighting every day not to become one in other areas. All right. Throughout your life, highs and lows, was there ever anyone who was there consistently and unconditionally? Throughout my life, the highs and the lows, was there ever anyone who was there consistently and unconditionally? My daughter. I have 3 daughters and I have 2 sons. My children have always been my friends. My children have always been the people that I've been the closest to. Even though I didn't share everything with them, I shared a lot of things with them, but they've always been there. They've always been there. They've always been my circle. Some of them grew up and moved away, never moved back. Some of them left, came back. Some of them still gone. Some of them choose to grow up and have their own life because I wanted them to, I would tell myself it's a whole world out there. Don't just be in one place. Go move somewhere and they give me some place to go, some place to come. It gives me an opportunity to travel because I'm going to come and see about you because you my baby. Your mom, I love you. So they said, you just want to go. You just want to travel. Yes. So, I can travel and come and see you wherever you go. So I do have children that live in different states. But it's been one of my child that always been consistent and always been unconditional. She always stick close. In fact, she loved her mama so much and concerned about her mother so much that she you know, abandoning some of her hopes and dreams of going different places and doing different things just so she could stay close to home. Now we're talking about after the drug use. You know, before the drug use, I think she was a pretty much a daddy's girl. You know, couldn't tell anything about her daddy. He loved his baby, and but as she began to get older, it kind of like she still do love her daddy, and you know, like that. But I think it's more so she's more closer to her mom and want to be close to me, and so she have chosen to relocate back to Mississippi to be close to her mom. She's always told me that I was pretty, I was beautiful, and that things would be okay. We would have a great life. We always have heart to heart talks. You know, when I was, you know, getting clean and getting free. And so she always encouraged me to do better. You can do better. And she lets me know clearly when she think I'm doing something wrong. But yeah, my daughter has always been there unconditionally and consistently. She's been a consistent in my life. Even though we butt heads, even though we don't see things eye to eye, you know, all the time, but she's been there. She's taken on a lot of responsibility for me. Helped to finish raising my two children because when I did leave the relationship and relocated, she became the primary caregiver in my home. She actually took care of my home. I just made the money. You know, she made sure that my children was dressed, made sure that their hair was combed and put them on the bus. You know, as with some of my other children, each one of them had a different responsibility to help me finish raising my children. So my older children became the caregivers of my younger children because they were much older, 7 years, 8 years, you know, older than them. So they became responsible for the younger two, so I can work and provide, and that's mostly all I had to do was work and provide. Take them to the doctor and things of that nature. But on the day-to-day things, they became my children's primary caregivers. You know, for the emotional stuff, we tried to protect the younger two from it, and so all of us came into agreement, the older ones and I. But she stayed the course. She stayed the course. My other two oldest children, they chose to leave home and get a life outside of, you know, the state, and that was okay. But she stayed. She came back, and so very grateful for her all the time, and she's still consistent. She's still unconditional. Um, so there you have it, people. The next one is after getting control of an addiction, the recovery process has a life of its own. What other areas have you struggled in beyond your addiction? Okay, let me read this again. After getting my addiction under control, after getting the control of my addiction, the recovery process has a life of its own. Yes, it do. What other areas have you struggled in beyond your addictions? The other areas that I struggled in beyond my addictions was self-love, developing my self-esteem, developing my value, uh, developing my self-worth, trying to figure out why I was put here, trying to figure out my destiny, my calling, my purpose in life. That was a struggle. That was a struggle because when you've lived life like I've lived, a life of abuse in many forms, you like, why would you even bring me here for suffer. I mean, I know, the Bible said that this life is, it's full of troubles, but I mean, I've really went through. I really suffered on many levels, and it is just, you just try to figure out, why was I even born? And I mean, I would ask my parents, why would I be born? Because I mean, my mother and father came together and made me. My mother was she was married and in a relationship. And then my father was much older, and they came together and made me, and they didn't have another child. And then it was always tension surrounding my birth. It was always tension concerning me. And it's like, why would you even bring me here? So that's something that I struggle with, beyond my addiction. That didn't have anything to do with my addiction. Is why was I here? So I got time for one more. Let me see. What behaviors do you still display that started with your addiction, and what are you doing to overcome them? What behaviors do I still display that started with my addiction, and what am I doing to overcome them? The behaviors that started with my addiction was isolation. I like to be to myself. When I became a drug addict, I began to be more isolated. I began to be off to myself. Like, I didn't have a problem getting high by myself. I didn't have to have a whole lot of people around me. I wasn't one of them types that, I can't get high unless I got somebody with me. If somebody just happened to be there, it would be okay. But I became more isolated and kept more to myself. At first, before I even started using drugs, I always was around a lot of people, very social, like I say, helping everybody. But when I became a drug addict and I see that I can escape in my own mind and just be in my own space and just not need anybody, it felt good. It felt good. And then even after my drug use, I was like, okay, I still need to stay by myself. I still need to be by myself. Like, it cuts down a lot of stresses. It cuts down a lot of unnecessary rhetoric that I don't have to go through, dealing with other people, attitudes, behaviors, ideas, and views, isolation. And it said, what am I doing to overcome that? I'm more social now, I think. Well, let me quit lying. We supposed to be telling the truth. I can be cordial with people. I can be very cordial with people. But being close and like, hey girl, I'm coming over to your house. We gonna do this and I do it sometimes. I had one friend that I really just go to her house where I always tell her I could just let my hair down here. You just got to have somebody where you can just be free. You understand? We can talk about any and everything. She's not judging me. I'm not judging her. And she always say, I know how you is. How can you just, you just different with me? I'm like, I got you. You my safe place. So you got to have somebody that you just feel safe with, that you can just let your hair down, and just be free. And then I have other friends that we're very social. We can rub minds together. We can talk about anything. And we can be real. We can have real heart-to-heart talks. You understand what I'm saying? I could tell them the matters of my heart, the things that's bothering me, the secret things that I go through, the secret hurts and stuff that people don't know about. So I have friends like that in my life, and I keep my friend circle very, very, very short. Like I said, I love education. I love to do research. I love to educate myself. I will actually, enroll myself in a college class every 2 years to educate myself. And I started this many, many years ago because you have to educate yourself. You have to know what's going on within you. And so I've always been on the search to find out why I act the way that I act, why I do the things that I do, and why I end up in the situation that I end up in. And you can only do that through knowledge. Knowledge is power. So in one of the searches that I did, it said that in your lifetime, you would only really have 5 close relationships. 5 real, real close, good friends in relationships, because relationships take time. You have to give of yourself. You have to give of your time to keep these relationships. And so I said, okay, you know what? That might be true. And so I don't try to overextend myself and say, okay, I'm going to always be there for you, or we going to be this and that. I don't do that. I stopped doing that. Because I would always tell people that, okay, we're going to be friends. I overextend myself. But then when I need you, or I need a shoulder to cry on, or I need just someone to just listen at my problem, they never available. So I started just cutting them off. You know what? You a taker. So you have 2 type of people in the world. You have givers and you have takers. And I started evaluating the people that was in my life. Are they adding to me, or are they subtracting from me? Am I uplifted when they leave, or am I depressed and sad and heavy when they leave out of my presence? And so I just narrowed it down. No, it's going to be 5. It's going to be 5. So, I got room for a couple. But I still do pretty much stay closed off. I'm very careful who I let in my circle. I'm very careful who I let in my space. Because the peace that I have, I want to keep it. The joy that I have, I want to keep it. And so you have to learn to protect your heart with all diligence, because out of it flows the issues of life. So I've learned to protect myself, protect my peace, protect my sanity, and there's nothing wrong with that. You need to get that way. So I think that's just one of the things that I've learned doing my addiction behaviors, and that's what I do to try to overcome it. I learned to prioritize people in my life, period. Put people on their right tier. Everybody can't be your friend. Everybody can't have access to you. Everybody can't come to your house. Everybody can't know your family. It don't work like that. So you learn to put people on their right tiers. And so I've learned that and still learning that. Okay? So we're going to end this session right here. I think we end on a very good note. And to remember, until we meet again, God gets the glory and I tell the story. Goodbye.